Hey guys and girls, welcome back. We are in the midst of uncovering the truth of our good friend Kazuma's death. We have to find out if his death was what makes his death not an accident. I'm going to present the crime scene photo. The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asogi could have left this message on the floor. That script, it's Russian, isn't it? Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe. I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language. Japanese in this case. But maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast. That doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. I'm sorry, what do you mean? Exactly what I said before. There's no way that Mr. Asogi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae, resulting in instant death. Yeah, when it happened, he just died. He wouldn't have been able to. Which means, after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything. Because he was already dead. That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asogi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there. If what Miss Pavlova told us was true. What? Susato-san has noticed it too then. Putting the message on the foresight, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident, in other words. It has to be the bell, right? That's what they're getting at.
Yes!
This piece of broken glass next to the marks on the floor. But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw? Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw, a fatal flaw. What? If that's really what happened. Then how did one half of the bell end up back here, in this cabin? Yes, remember that we found the other half of the glass bell in that waste paper basket. Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no. Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Asogi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. That same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth. In order to cover up his or her own guilt. Yeah. Yes, there was someone else present in Mr.
Hold
Asogi's. You're wasting time. Someone else was there? Of course, we know this. What are you talking about? Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out. Oh, yes. And only other person in cabin when young student died was she.
Yes!
It's true. I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details. But I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message. Not would have. There's no way you could have left that message, to be precise about the details. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. And then, the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor, for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Suki really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the bell? Leaving half behind was always going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours. The cabin would have been quite dark. A single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light on the floor. Little wonder then that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item. You all suspect me, don't you? Seaman Stroganoff. Nina is woman of sea. She's daughter of strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills, and she went away to join ballet company. But before she was dancer on the ship, a member of ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angel of being criminal. Ah, so that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in his cabin. But that is not possible. I give my tooth. Well, this is almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, Bray? How can you be so sure? You're a great detective. You should know. Look, truth in the eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or you want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Yet, it's impossible. He's right. But wait, I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie threads around door latches. These are watertight doors, as one would expect. Constructed of heavy steel. No, of course not. I thought so too. But Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so... Susato-san, how could you shift it onto me? So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been open, it was bolted shut. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, you can see the traces of the method I have in mind, having been used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? One way does spring to mind, yeah? Do you really know what Sholmes means? Yeah, so should you. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed, we have. So would you care to do the honors?
Yes!
This is it. This shows how it was done. It certainly shows how something was done. I concur. Wait, that was it! That was it! It's the alarm, right? Wait, no, is that not the emergency bell? I'm stupid.
Yes!
Look at the bookcase there. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over? That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over. I believe... yes. It's what's known as the force of inertia acting on the objects. Is there nothing Susato-san doesn't know? Or is that... or that isn't in her book, at least? Or whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over these books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. Ah! It was very obvious just after the emergency stop the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... that's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door. Yes. Buria made an emergency stop. When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hands across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over. Yes, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I? Then when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Sogi's cabin. Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Buria made emergency stop. It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm. Oh, yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there? Telling you only to press the button in times of emergencies. On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes. Yeah. Sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait, it was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today. He pressed the alarm the second time. Surely it wasn't you who... As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed. Whatever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with the ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now. I'm sure all that can wait until later. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolt on the cabin door slides closed. So what we must now consider... Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Osogi. Did the ship make an emergency stop? Or did it not? You are idiots. Voya is a huge ship. With many passengers. If we make emergency stop even in the middle of the night, there would be chaos everywhere. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruto? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night? The emptiness in this book.
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff, it's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship. Isn't that right? Da. And the ship's log here. This would be where you record the details. What are you doing with that? That is mine. Ah, you rather carelessly left it atop the little makeshift bureau in the passageway. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always. The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase "nothing to report" every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded. Nothing? That is... Duh, because nothing happened. But if nothing happened, you would normally write "nothing to report." Wouldn't you? Ugh. Indeed so. Which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened. Here aboard the SS Boria. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log. Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night? Stop talking rubbish. If I'm perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself. Oh? Why? Well, because if something as major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed. But we were all dazed. It's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like. The ship lurched so violently and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anybody would sleep through that, even if it happened in the dead of night. Well, no. That's a good point. What if the throbbing? Sorry? What do you mean? Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We have all suffered with it. Oh, yeah. I have had a headache. You're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today. Nor have I. My head has been feeling heavier ever since dawn. Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. He's right. My head's been throbbing today. And since eating dinner yesterday, everything has felt so sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything. That happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe. And had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, you boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Well, yeah, sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on? Well, Kazuma looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it. Yeah, in fact, I had all of that. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? That's why they killed him, because he wasn't dazed. That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does that not strike you? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken? I do. No. Really? Is that really true? The meal prepared for the passengers last night had been tampered with. Tampered with by the addition of a sulfuric designed to induce a very deep slumber in those who consumed it. A sleeping drug? Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop? Mr. Naruhodo, of course, that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea. Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a sulfuric drug would certainly be impossible. Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator. What? Mr. Sholmes? Well, Seaman? I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. If you refuse to talk, there would have to be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew and the captain himself would be hauled over the coals for aiding and abetting a renegade. Please, no more. I will tell everything. I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore. These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe. Yes. So when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me. We all agreed to help. Everyone together. She threw away everything, her fame in the ballet. Mother Russia. We wanted to help our angel. I don't believe it. You're right. We put sleeping drug in chicken last night. Yes, I remember now. I did notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point. We could not make all drug, how do you say, dissolve. Talk about heavy seasoning. At midnight in waters near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by comrade on shore with small fishing boat. While all the passengers of the SS Burya slept soundly, thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion, their evening meals had contained. Oh, that's how they got her on board. So if that's what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crew people who disliked chicken and the newly boarded passenger, Miss Pavlova. And that means it would have been possible for you. You could have used the emergency stop trick to lock Kazuma's cabin door. But how does that make sense? Surely every cabin door would have ended up locked in that case. And there would have been complete chaos. Oh, I wouldn't say so. What? Ah, of course. Just like us. All the other passengers would have eaten their evening meals of chicken in their cabins, after which they would have been overwhelmed by tiredness because of the sleeping drug. Quite. And accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night. Yeah. The overwhelming majority of passengers would habitually sleep with their cabin doors bolted anyway, and so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fasten the bolt of a single cabin door on the ship, the culprit brought the entire vessel to an emergency stop in the early hours of the morning. You have talked long time and said many things. What is point? The point is what I said earlier. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who left a message in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone who tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. And someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night. But... I don't know about any of this. I'm just a little girl. You like to speak with your long English words and explain your clever ideas. But I am sailor, and sailors don't listen to long, boring stories. We don't believe. Sailors like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes. A laudable trait. What? I am quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruhodo. Do you hear it? The accusatory cry of guilt on the wind. What accusatory cry of guilt? Sorry, you've lost me. Proof of involvement, man. But you can't hear such a call with your ears. No. No, you must hear it with your eyes, for observation is the basis of all deduction. What are you talking about? I believe the time has come for one final logic and reasoning spectacular to expose the truth. So, Mr. Naruhodo, your assistance, if you please. With what exactly, Mr. Holmes? Mr. Sholmes? With observation, my dear fellow. Just as I said, of these two provocateurs. Observation? If you remember, Mr. Naruhodo, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Asogi's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there. Precisely. You're delightfully quick to grasp my meaning. Alright, I'll see what I can see. So we're looking for a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night. Hello.
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff. You seem to have quite a large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there. Ah, yes, I don't know where the dirt comes from. So nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain. What are you trying to say? It would appear that the significance of this stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain. It's a very large purple stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform, and I think what made it is clear. Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruhodo, present the evidence that proves it. My pleasure. Alright then, the evidence that proves what that stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform really is.
Yes!
Yes, it's this photograph and the ink it shows. That's what's caused the stain on your uniform. Ink? A rather unusual color of ink. Purple. Ugh! Ah, the penny drops. At last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in purple ink. And the stain on the back of your uniform is ink of exactly the same color. If the ink had been dry, it couldn't possibly have stained your uniform in that way. Which means you must have been present in the cabin, moments immediately after the ink was spilt. Alright, yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. He's protecting her. She killed him. I arranged everything in dead student's cabin to make it look like Wardrobe Man did it. Then I pressed button to make Burya do emergency stop and bolt cabin door shut. I did everything so no one would suspect our angel. Biff, please. Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then our angel came to me. She was white like sheet. Biff, please, you must help me. I went with her. The door to cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw student boy on floor. What happened here? Please, don't tell anyone. My little one, my little furry friend. Everything that happened in cabin is like Angel told you. The kitten escaped through the ventilator into Mr. Sogi's cabin. Then he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell to the floor. Yes, that is right. So after the incident, when the cat ran away, Miss Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers, only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor. She said she was worried when she heard the sound of something falling on the floor. That's when she went to look. No, Angel? The door was not locked, so she opened to look, and you already know what happened. There's just one thing. If you wouldn't mind. What? When you went to Mr. Sogi's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why? I already told you. When Nina opened door of student's cabin and looked inside, I was asking Miss Pavlova. Well, Miss Pavlova? Da? Oh. Yes, that is right. I saw him. It was dark, and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand, and I believe you. So is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Kazuma's death at last? Ah, something very nearly slipped my mind. Mr. Holmes? This photograph. Yes, I took this myself, you know. The cause of death was a broken neck. Therefore, the victim died instantly. And the unfortunate incident that precipitated these events, a kitten on which the victim stumbled. However, if those are the facts, there's one particular area in this photograph that seems to be me somewhat unnatural. What do you mean, unnatural? What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, well. If Kazuma tripped and fell, and by some terrible stroke of bad luck, broke his neck, which part of this photographic print seems unnatural? Would it be that he slumped over this way? Wouldn't he be slumped over the other way? If he broke his neck? Right? Because the post-mortem report said the victim's neck was almost certainly broken. A strong blow to the area. Right?
Yes!
No, okay. Losing your footing yourself. Would you land as the victim has? What of your hands? Oh yeah, would he have a balled up fist? You look like the sort of fellow who stumbles with some regularity. This should be an easy task. He would have had his hands open, right? Not balled? Like that? I'm gonna say his hand. Present his hand. Alright, if he really fell due to an unfortunate accident, then this fist just doesn't seem quite right. The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is to open the palms flat. Yeah, to catch yourself. Yet here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say. as though he were gripping something. What do you mean? Simply that I took the liberty of investigating the victim's fist in a short while ago. You did? And what, pray, do you imagine I found there? My dear fellow. Mr. Sholmes? Show us, please. Why, of course, my dear madam. Would I keep you in suspense? This is what I found. Pavlova's earring. A crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle. Yes, you're right, a crescent moon. It's very pretty, but what does it tell us? It tells us nothing. I'm not so sure. That crescent moon looks... It looks familiar. I'm sure I've seen it. Observation, Mr. Naruhodo. That is the key. The truth is now tantalizingly close. How did that crescent moon come to be in Kazuma's clenched fists? This is the final clue, the last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe. Find the answer with your own eyes.
Yes!
Miss Pavlova, on your ear there. I see you have a crescent moon as well. Oh. What? And on your other ear. There seems to be a crescent moon missing. The little link holding it on must have broken, I suppose. Now, the missing crescent moon was found in the victim's clenched fists. Clearly, there's only one logical conclusion. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah. Miss Pavlova, Mr. Sogi must have grasped that crescent moon and pulled it from your ear. Perhaps just moments before he fell to the floor. In other words, last night in Mr. Sogi's cabin, you witnessed the moment when the victim fell with your own eyes. In fact, you were quite literally at arm's length from him. But then the question is, why did Mr. Sogi do that? Why did he pull your earring from your ear and hold it in his clenched fist during his final moments? Oh no. Angel? No one can protect you now. Please, Miss Pavlova, tell us the truth. Last night, what did you do to Kazuma? Ah! Yeah, you bastard. When I think about everything that happened yesterday, it was too much. Running away, the fishing boat in the middle of the night, trying to climb onto this huge ship. And then, when I was at last in this cabin, and I could relax after this horrible long day. Darka, wait! I couldn't believe it when she disappeared through the ventilator. I tried to call her with a little whistle. I tried waving her favorite toy. But nothing worked. Darka would not come. What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. The young man from your country. He was very polite and kind. He helped me to find Darka, and he promised not to tell anyone. But then, when I had my friend in my arms again, and I was going to leave the man's cabin... Just a moment. Sorry, but... Oh, yes? I'm sure I know your face. I've seen you somewhere before. Ah, of course. You're Nikolina Pavlova, aren't you? The Russian ballerina. Huh? No, I don't know that name. My heart nearly stopped when he said that. He knew who I was. How could this man from a land in the faraway east know a Russian ballerina? Yes, I saw your performance in Japan. The beauty of the ballet made a deep impression on me. But, what are you doing on this ship? I'm sure I read that your ballet company was performing in Shanghai at the moment. I can't fool him. I have to tell him the truth and hope he doesn't tell anyone. I have no other choice. I see. So you've run away. Please, keep my secret. Don't tell anyone. Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here. He's going to pull that cord. He's going to tell the captain. Oh, he was gonna wake me up, and she... Why did I think I could trust him? And then she pushed him. Then it happened. Everything at once. It was only a second, but it felt like forever. Wait, I shouted, and then... Darka jumped out of my arms and down to the young man's feet. Oh. Okay, he did trip still. And... as he turned around to look at me... Oh, damn it. I pushed him. Oh, never mind. She did push him. I don't even know why. I don't know why I did it. I was just so scared. And I had to stop him from telling anyone about me. And that's when you went to fetch help? From Seaman Stroganoff, who was on duty out in the passageway. I heard Nina cry out and thud on the floor, so I ran to her. She was standing at cabin doors, shaking like leaf. She looked at me and said, "Help me, Biff. If they find out, I will be... Please, I have nowhere to go." So you decided to help. And that's when you arranged things in Kazuma's cabin to make it look like I did it. So that no one would suspect the passenger in the cabin next door. Yes. I went into cabin and I looked around to make sure there was nothing to show Nina was there. And then I found Stowaway in wardrobe, still sleeping. Right. That's when he found me. So you worked out a plan to lay the blame on the Stowaway. I closed the wardrobe doors and put back strange paper sign. Luckily for me, that's the only reason Susato-san started to believe me when I said I was innocent. I dragged young man's body to a good place and used ink that was spilling to write on floor. I write, so that person who found him would look inside wardrobe and find Stowaway. And tell me, what of the glass bell? It was by my feet, so I picked it up. I see. But it was dark in the cabin. I didn't notice the other half. Then Angel went back to her cabin and I finished job by pressing the emergency alarm button in the passageway. Yes. Accordingly, the SS Buria did indeed come to an emergency halt at a little after 2 a.m. thus enticing the bolt on the cabin door to slide shut, creating the locked room mystery. There's still one thing I don't understand, Miss Pavlova. What? Well, you said that you told Kazuma about the fact that you'd run away from your homeland. And it's because you were worried he was going to tell the captain that you pushed him. Isn't that right? Yes. But even if he had pulled the bell cord and called for the captain of the ship, aren't you friends with every member of the crew? Why would that have been a problem? It was what he said first that made me scared. What he said first? What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. He said an inspector was his friend. Ah, yes, meaning me, who was supposed to be acting as his bodyguard. I thought that if police knew about me, they would arrest me. So before he could pull the bell cord, May I stop you a moment, please, Miss Pavlova? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, was Mr. Sogi really going to pull the bell cord? I don't know. What? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I'm not Kazuma, so I can't know for certain, but he was a man of his word. If he told you he wouldn't give your secret away, then he wouldn't have done. No, he was walking over to it. He was going to pull the cord. He was going to make them send me back. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the day's work is not yet done, it seems. There's one more deduction to make. What? Another deduction? Yes, what action was the victim really about to take at that moment? He was coming to me. Can we determine whether the young man's gaze was directed? Oh. I get one more, like, deducing a gaze. First, consider the victim's location within his cabin. That's easy. I remember every detail of that room. I mean, yeah, I spent quite a lot of time in the wardrobe, but still. That cabin has been my home for this entire voyage. So this is how the cabin looked at last night when Miss Pavlova visited. Yeah, that's exactly how it was. Are you ready then, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. If there's one thing I've learned today, it's that a simple gaze can reveal all manners of truth. And not only that, in order to draw the right conclusion, you can't afford to be out by even a little bit when you're following the gaze where it lands. So when he turned away from Miss Pavlova, what exactly was Kazuma looking at?
Take that!
Considering everything that had happened last night, certainly it may have looked as though Kazuma was going to ring the bell cord. Yes, however, but it is directly beside the bell cord. The wardrobe. The wardrobe? And more importantly, what was inside the wardrobe? The man's great friend, sleeping soundly. Miss Pavlova, please, think back very carefully. What were Mr. Sogi's exact words last night? Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here. Another opinion? Yes, but not from a member of the crew. No, Mr. Sogi intended to consult his close friend on the matter. To see if between them, they might be able to help in some way, no doubt. Oh, no. Sadly, we can't know the truth for certain now. It's too late for that. But I wish you had made sure of what Mr. Sogi was looking at. Things may have ended very differently if you had. Aww. Miss Pavlova, I want to thank you for finally admitting the truth. But unfortunately, the truth is, a man lost his life because of what you did, and that will never change. I hope you'll never forget that. I'm sorry. Really, I'm so sorry. Oh, what have I done? And so, at long last, the mystery surrounding the tragic accident on the SS Buria was finally laid to rest. Oh, Kazuma. Taken out by a accident, man. What happened to Miss Pavlova now, then? Once we reach Great Britain, she'll be handed over to the British police at Scotland Yard. What about the fact that she ran away from Russia? Won't the Russians try to reappropriate her? Apparently the English detective can speak to the immigration office and sort all that out. Mr. Sholmes can do that? So she won't be going back to Russia, then? No, I don't think so. Even if she wanted to return in the future, I doubt she would be able to. She ran away, so now she's in exile for life. I see. I'm sorry. Seaman Stroganoff? I wanted to help our angel, no matter what. But I didn't think about you, about how you lost a good friend. I will go with Nina. I will give myself to British police. That's kind of you. In the meantime, thank you for letting me go free again. Kazuma's death feels like such a waste, but... well, do what you can for Miss Pavlova, won't you? Really was a waste, because he was great. Duh. Well, I'm afraid you need to pack now. We're due to arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow. As much as it pains me, I'm going to have to hand you over to the consul to arrange your passage back to Japan. Yeah, I did stow away after all. I couldn't really expect any different. So, you should get back to your cabin now. It looks like my study tour to Great Britain is over before it even began. To think that only days ago Kazuma and I were laughing together about how we'd tear up the streets of London. Seems like a distant memory now. Oh, what's that? Is it someone weeping? The sword. Susato-san? Naruhodo-san, I didn't know you had returned. Oh, well, I haven't been back long. Inspector Hosanaga just told me I should pack, ready to leave the ship tomorrow and all. I still can't believe this has happened. I can't believe someone's life can be over just like that. Susato-san. Aw. He had such grand ideas for this visit to Great Britain. So many dreams. And now they've been cruelly taken away, just as he has. I thought I could never forgive the person responsible. But now we know the truth. That it was just an accident. Just a silly series of mishaps. It's too much now, Horo-san. It's just too much. Yeah, I know. I wish there was something I could say. Inspector, my duty was to see Osogi-san safely to Great Britain, but I failed and caused his two closest friends great pain and suffering. I've let everyone down, and I will do anything to make up for my terrible blunder. Nobody blames you, Inspector. And I'm free again now. At least, no! Surprised, Mr. Naruhodo! What? What is the meaning of this? Oh, a trifling matter. Simply that, in my head, I think I shall always picture you wearing those shackles. Without them, the balance seems all wrong. It's distracting. Sorry? So I decided to restore them. For old time's sake, shall we? You are a stowaway after all. No! He thinks this is funny? Mr. Sholmes. We do appreciate all your assistance. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Not at all, not at all. And though it's a little late, may I offer my sincere condolences? The loss of your companion is truly heartrending. I hope that you will be able to fulfill some of his aspirations in his honor. I'm afraid that won't be possible. We shall be disembarking at the next port in Hong Kong. We have to return to Japan and make a full report about everything that's happened. What? Wait a minute. It's just me that has to go back, isn't it? I mean, I was the stowaway. The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. It was to be one lawyer and one assistant. Was to be? In the light of Mr. Sogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. No, I don't care for me, but... Poor Susato-san. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. Qualifications, you say? Any qualifications obtained in your own country will be of little value in Great Britain, I'm afraid. Oh, but anyway, the voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. Yes. Miss Susato? Yes? Do you think perhaps I might be able to do it? But you're not a lawyer, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, unless... Are you studying law? No, I am not, but... I'm sorry. In that case, I don't think there's even a chance it could work. But as I said, there's still more than a month before we reach England's shores. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah, I have a month in which to study to learn what I must to become a lawyer in Great Britain. Mr. Naruhodo, that's ridiculous. Are you seriously suggesting anybody could learn all of that in just 40 days? There's only one way to find out. I would work my fingers to the bone, Inspector. Every single day. Will you let me try? And if by the time we reach Great Britain I haven't learned enough to be recognized as a lawyer, I'll take whatever punishment is deemed appropriate. But why put yourself in such a difficult position? For Kazuma. He said that there was something he had to do in Great Britain, and that he would sacrifice anything to make it happen. He was passionate about it. I can't let all that passion just come to nothing. And anyway, it's for my own benefit, too. I will become a lawyer. I have to. What do you say, Miss Susato? I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you. So, what does our bespectacled inspector friend say? Are you serious? One lawyer and one assistant. The numbers are indisputable. No, it's madness. Yet fascinating, wouldn't you agree? Fascinating? Duty and rules are the dull routine of existence that we all abhor. Give us interest. Give us fascination. Speak for yourself. Besides, qualifications are no measure of a man. What matters is his character. No? And you've witnessed ample evidence of this man's exemplary character today with your own eyes. From the early hours of this morning until this very moment now. Despite contending with the passing of his close companion and despite the accusations of guilt, this man has shown resourcefulness, intelligence, and above all, courage. Very well. I'll think of a clever way to word my report to the Department of Justice. Inspector, after all, I did just make a promise, didn't I? I said that I'd do anything at all to make up for my shortcomings here. Thank you, Inspector. If you'll excuse me, I must pay a visit to the captain's quarters, I think. I need to discuss what to do next and how best to make my report. Are you really prepared to attempt this, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah, I'm going to try. I wonder, would you consider teaching me what I need to know? Everything about being a lawyer? I would be delighted to help you. I am a judicial assistant, after all. Thank you. And, Mr. Naruhodo, I'd like you to take charge of this. What? Me? Are you sure? I'm sure it's what Kazuma-sama would have wanted. Its name is Kuruma. It's a great sword that's been in the Usogi family for generations. Very well. I accept. I'll treasure it always. So then, Miss Susato, it seems we'll be working together for some time. It will be an honor, Mr. Naruhodo. And for the next 40 days, I shan't grant you a single minute of freedom. We shall fill every spare moment with study. Yes, that's exactly what I need. But before we begin, I have an earnest favor to ask of you. Goodness, what is it? Please, throw me to the ground. 3 times. What? I should never have doubted you. You were Kazuma-sama's closest friend. Of course you would never have done anything to hurt him. That should have been obvious to me from the start. But I allowed suspicion to get the better of me. And no matter how upset I was feeling, it was completely unforgivable. No, you were in shock. You just found out about me stowing away and the cabin was locked. No, I won't let you make excuses. Whatever the circumstances, I should never have thrown you. And not just once, but 5 times. That number keeps creeping up, doesn't it? Please, you must. Just take hold of me and throw me. Do it. Oh, she's into some weird stuff. No. I don't even know how. I've never thrown anyone.
Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo. It isn't a skill one acquires without considerable training.
Oh, Mr. Holmes.
I observed your throwing technique several times with great interest. I confess I was most impressed.
When did he see that?
I presume that would be a form of Japanese wrestling.
Oh, well, in a way. It's not wrestling, but my own interpretation of an ancient jujutsu. Apparently it's called the Susato takedown. It leaves your head swimming, believe me.
How beguiling. I am a practitioner of the combative arts myself. I'm a somewhat of an accomplished boxer.
There he goes, dancing around again.
I wonder if you'd be so kind as to instruct me on the technique of your arresting throw.
Yes, I'd be honored.
Then let us not dally. Demonstrate, my dear madam.
Oh, of course. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry?
Hi-ya! I thought she was gonna do it on him, not me. As you can see, you throw from the abdomen.
Oh, yes, arresting indeed. And that is what you term the Susato takedown, is it?
Actually, no. That was a Susato squash. In my groggy state of consciousness, a scene from an evening recently spent with Kazuma flickered into my mind. Kuruma? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Yosogi clan. I can't believe you managed to get permission to bring it with you. I mean, taking a katana on a study tour is more than a little irregular.
A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. It can't be parted from my katana. Kuruma guides me. I truly believe that.
So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling.
On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain, and I'll sacrifice anything to make it happen.
I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
That important thing he had to do. I still don't know what that was. But I'm going to see the place for myself and work it out. In Great Britain's capital, London. The Adventures of the Runaway Room. Alright, so we are in episode 3 now. Leave a like, guys, subscribe, share with a friend. Hope you guys enjoyed the Adventures of the Unbreakable Speckled Band. And on the next part, we jump into the Adventures of the Runaway Room.